a fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 2013. Uncovering your family story, a journey through genealogy. Back to my favorite topics again. Why should we? Why? All right, just looking for my notes here. Okay, so today's topic is it's about genealogy, which isn't just names and dates. It's also about discovering the incredible stories of those who came before us. That's the family history side of it. So genealogy is the facts. Family history side is the stories. You put the two together to create this amazing family story. What have I done lately? I've been all over the place lately. I've been going in, I've been checking stuff for clients. I've been checking stuff for myself. I've been making corrections. I'm using the pro tools that are available in Ancestry, where I've been finding errors in some of the profiles, going in and investigating the errors. Should they stand? Do they need to be changed? Errors like the mother was under the age of 13 when this child was born. So now I have to go in and have a look at that. And I'm turning around and finding that it could be I transposed a number. Instead of putting 1836, I put 1863. It makes a difference. But going back and having a look through the source, this is why it is good to take note of the sources, have your research logs and everything else, because if you find come across something like this where it says the mother was born in 1863, her oldest child was born in 1868, you're sort of like, or born before 1863, then you're like, oh, what's going on here? So now you can go back through your sources to see what source did I use to get that date, and you find out that it was actually 1836. So you go back and you correct it, and we're all good now, and we can carry on. So genealogy connects us to our past, helps us understand our identity, and strengthens our family bonds. And tracing our ancestry can provide insight into cultural heritage, health history, and personal resilience. Health history, very important. I actually had a family member that came to me and wanted to know if there was a history of a particular type of cancer in the family. I said, no, not that I know of for that one. I said, but what I have found are these ones that have been present within the family. And I said, but not that particular one. But I said, with the range that we've got here, it could be any type. You never know. This is your mother's side, this is your father's side, and this is what we've found so far. I said, I still have more documents to go through, so I may find something else in there as well, but this is what we have right now. And I said, just put it this way, you may be at risk. You may genetically be at risk to get cancer. What type it is, we don't know. So we've had, looking at health history, going back on the death certificates, it lists what the person died of. So when you look at what people have died of, look at direct lines, and then you might have to go to the siblings of your parents to see if anybody else had that particular illness. So you know that in this direct line, say your mother's line goes off over here, in that line you've got heart disease listed in there. Does anybody else and that's the direct line, does anybody else on the side branches, so any siblings along there, also have heart disease issues that they passed from? And this can say, okay, maybe you have a genetic code in there that puts you at risk for heart disease. That's the thing that you can talk about with your doctor. Say, hey, we've had this in our family, Do we have diabetes? Is another one. Cancer, another one. So there's all these different health issues that you can go back and have a look at through their death records to find out who died from what. And look at your direct line, but don't forget to go sideways a little bit too, because if it's coming down genetically through the family, some of the side branches will have it as well, which makes it really cool. So the thrill of the search, what can you discover when you're researching your genealogy and your family history? You can find unexpected historical connections with famous ancestors, immigration stories, military heroes, overcoming the odds, just about anything. Your genealogy is full of romance, of heroes, of famous people, of overcoming challenges, survivors, family. What else can you throw in there? Just about anything. You may even have murder in there too. Maybe an ancestor was murdered. Maybe your ancestor was a murderer. You don't know. There could be mysteries in there to be solved. There is, just about any genre of fiction book you can think of, can happen in your family tree. I said just about all of them, with the exception of like sci-fi and fantasy. All the other ones there, like mysteries and romance and adventure and what else is there? Thrillers. All of those, just think of just about any genre you can think of. Just about all those genres can take place in your family tree at some point in time. The difference being is that family history, that's true. Fiction, made up. Family history won't make sense because it's true. Truth is Mark Twain, paraphrasing what Mark Twain used to say, truth is stranger than fiction. That is why fiction has to make sense. So you will find all sorts of stories in there. And people go, I don't have a very exciting thing. Trust me, when you start digging, you will find some interesting stuff that comes up. Found a branch of the family, which I'm not exactly sure how it connects into my tree yet. It's in one of those little mini floating ones, who they had a transportation company. And in the newspapers, I found different articles where they'd been taken to court for different things. Things like there was an accident that one of their buses was involved in. So there was a court case about that. So out of that came some interesting details about people in that family. Then there was another incident with one of the transportation company, and there was an article written up about this incident. There was somebody who was falsely accused the transportation company of causing an accident. Unfortunately for them, there were too many eyewitnesses around to say that's not what happened. So you can find all sorts of things and stories in there. You can, and all of this work, when you're looking at this, you become a researcher, a detective. You can put all these titles in there. That's why we have the family tree detective, because we like digging in there and getting in there and finding out these stories and uncovering the truth. So, and we can help you overcome those brick walls. We hit brick walls all the time. Trust me, we hit brick walls all the time. When I hit a brick wall, I will actually write on my research thing, I've hit a brick wall, which means I'm going to come back to that one later. I may even go into my calendar and put, go revisit this particular thing, and it'll be in my file. And when I get there, I say, oh, we hit a brick wall. Excellent. Let's knock that brick wall down. Because sometimes you need to take a break so the brain can reset, and it will subconsciously churn away on that. And all of a sudden one day you'll wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning and go, I've got it. I know what I need to do. I need to go check this. So that's why you have pen and paper beside the bed, and you write down, I need to check, and write it all down for this particular person. Put it down. It's now out of your brain. You can get back to sleep. Some things work just that easily. It could be, when people have difficulty going to sleep, I go, what's on your brain? They're like, what do you mean? I said, what are you thinking about? They go, all sorts of things. I said, write them down. They go, why? I said, if you write them down, you've shared them, they're out of your brain. Now you can go to sleep. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's what works for me, and it works very, very well. Plus, I also have a set routine every evening. When it comes to bedtime, there is a set way that even if I'm sitting in the family room and I've been working on my computer, because a lot of times I've got to keep my hands busy. So I'm either knitting, crocheting on the computer. I might be doing research. I might be doing some other stuff on there that doesn't require a lot of attention. Even just playing card games on there while I'm watching a movie at the same time. Yes, I can compute both at the same time. And then I have a way that I shut everything down. And even from when I get up from my seat I just broke another nail. Look at that. When I get up from my seat, I have a set routine that I go through on my way to the bedroom to then get ready for bed. And then once I hit the bedroom, I have a set routine that I go through in there before I can get into bed to go to sleep. And my body's kind of like, oh, we're getting into shutdown mode now, are we? Okay. And part of that thing is having a read, whether it's a paragraph or whether it's 4 paragraphs. It just depends on how. And I have the pen and paper there in case my brain starts whirring off in a different direction, and I can write stuff down, and there you go. So top genealogy research tips. Where do you start? Start with what you know, then do family interviews, look at census records, do DNA testing. Don't forget your hidden gems, newspapers, military records, land deeds, immigration documents, parish records, vital records. There's a whole slew of records out there that you can go and do. And when you are researching, if you come across a name, you go, oh, that's the same name that's my great-grandfather's name. Oh, this must be all about him. Stop, pause, backtrack. Is it really the right person that fits in your tree? Now you have to prove that that person is the right person that fits in your tree. Or is it somebody else who happened to live in that same area that had that same name that was born around that same time? For example, I had a John Eakins that was my fourth great grandfather. There was 183 that were born in a 5-year period in that county. That was, in that very tight area, because one of the, find out what the common names are in a certain period in your family tree. Mine is George, William, John, Thomas, and James. Those 5 names. They were the most popular 5 names in the 1800s in my family tree for the men in the Eakins side. 5 of them. So you could have George Eakins. I went through 183 John Eakins to find the one that fitted in my tree. There was still more on the list, but I went through the first 183 and then I found the one that fitted in my tree. There was a lot of testing going on. So make sure that if the name that you're putting in your tree is to the right person, because if it's not, it's going to screw up the rest of your tree. Either going backwards or going forwards, it's going to screw it up. Trust me on this. I have done this. I made many mistakes like this when I was first starting. DNA testing and its role in family history. DNA testing will show you how that you are related by blood, that you are a blood relative. It doesn't show you how you are related. That's where genealogy comes in. And genealogy and DNA testing together will reveal a lot. You will find cousins that you may not have known about. You will find relatives you didn't know about. I've got a whole slew of them that I'm matched to in Family Tree DNA, 23andMe, and Ancestry. There are hundreds of cousins that are in there that I don't even know about. But I'm learning. Every now and again, I'll go pick one and contact them and say, hey, how do you fit into my tree? What's some last names that's in your mother's line or in your father's line, and see if any of them match up with my line. So, there are correct ways of contacting people. Do not do things like, oh my gosh, I have lost count of the number of times that somebody says, you have this person in your tree. Is that my great grandmother? Well, I don't know. Or you've got this person in your tree. My great grandmother's that name. What information do you have on this person? Can you tell me some more about this? I've even had people, now I lock my trees down. I have them private. They are searchable, but that is it. Any living person is put as private. So they have to be dead in order to be searchable. And I've had people who have sent me a link to one of them and go, this is my 3rd great grandmother. How are you related to her? Or was it? Oh, this is my 3rd great grandmother. What information do you have on them? Well, first of all, what makes you think that this is your 3rd great grandmother? There's a lot of beginners. Or they come, hey, we've got a DNA match. How are we related? We have a DNA match. That's all I can tell you. That some people, when you reach out to people to ask them to help find that connection, at least explain to them, hey, I was looking through my DNA matches and your name came up. It on my side, it shows that you're on my paternal side. These are some of the last names on my paternal side. Do any of them ring a bell with you? Maybe we can talk a little bit and find where that connection is. And if they have a tree attached to their profile, look at their tree. And because that might give you clues as to where they lock into your tree. And sometimes it's going to look, I had a look at your tree, but I don't have any of these names that is on your tree on my tree. I would love to find how we are connected. Can we collaborate on this and share information so that we can find out how we're connected? Okay, don't just turn around and say, hey, we're connected by DNA. Our DNA match, we've got a DNA match. How are we connected? Yeah, no, they're not going to know. They're not going to press some magic button and there it is. It doesn't work that way. And it will go far and wide. I have 2 7th cousins who live in Wales that I have met through Facebook. I've met them through Facebook. I have a 7th cousin once removed who lives in Canada. Met him he contacted me through the DNA match. We figured out the link. I introduced him to, because it's this part of the family is all part of a one-name study. A one-name study is when somebody turns around and says, I want to research everybody with this last name. and they figure out how they can, and they will go through and prove that they're connected and everything else. I happened to stumble across his website one time, and I got talking with him and says, hey, this bit here isn't correct. I can give you more information about what happened to my second great grandmother. I can give you more information about her, and this is how I'm connected to it. And so it started a friendship that has been going. I've never met Richard at all, but we've had a lot of chats backwards and forwards and things like that. And then through my DNA matching, I met up with my seventh cousin once removed who lives in Canada. And so I says, hey, I have to introduce you to Richard because he's the one that's put this whole thing together. And he also has a Facebook group for anybody who is on that tree. And he's sort of like, oh, that's really cool. So I made the introduction. He got put into the group. Less than a week later, Richard added 2 more people to the group who happened to be my seventh cousins, who are also the guy that I met the week before in Canada. They are his first cousins once removed. So they all got introduced around. They all have the same grandmother in common who has one name, but somehow it changed to a different name, and they're trying to figure out why and when that happened. And she's a little bit of a mystery, this woman. But we were able to connect up the 2 seventh cousins with the seventh cousin once removed. So in their situation, it's 2 first cousins with the first cousin once removed. We're able to connect the 3 of them together, which was pretty cool. And the 2 first cousins knew each other. They live in the same area, I think it is. Pretty sure they live in the same town or different towns. I can't remember. But, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know. And some of them we actually have some really good conversations with. And, we're now moved off Ancestry because it can take so long because they may not be on there that often. So getting replies sometimes takes a while. But we've now exchanged emails and we email backwards and forwards. We're friends on Facebook. And, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun who you can meet. And I can't wait to go to different areas and actually meet up with these people in person. So they're all on my list to visit when I go to different places. Anyway, where are we up to? DNA testing, yeah. Learn how to take a genetic DNA testing class. I do have it here. Hang on. Grab yourself a copy of Guide to DNA Testing and Genetic Genealogy. It is listed in my book list below in the description. This is a very user-friendly book on how to understand DNA testing, what DNA testing is, how to understand it, how it interacts with genetics. This is an awesome book. It is written in plain English. Yes. I love this book. Anytime I have a question on DNA testing, I go in and have a look at that one on how to interpret the results and things like that. Ethical considerations when uncovering unexpected family secrets. You have to be very careful with this. There is actually if you are going to be managing if you get somebody to do a DNA testing and you're managing their DNA results, you have to let them know that DNA testing is going to reveal some stuff that people may not want to talk about. It could come up with a half sibling. It could come up with your father is not your father or your mother is not your mother. It could bring that up. Ethically, you are not allowed to talk about the results to anybody except the person whose results they are. You can only talk to them. You can't go to like a parent and go, hey, this one's coming up as a half sibling on several of these things with these matches and things. What's going on here? You can't do that. Ethically, you cannot do that. You need to talk to the person and you need to know how to handle that. And I don't actually know if it's in here. I'm trying to remember if it's in here. I don't know if it is or not. Oh, the ethical standards, page 48. So on page 48 and 49, it has standard. Oh, this is the whole, in fact, where are we? From page 42 through to page 49 in this book is the genetic genealogy standards. It's about, this takes you through the standards. They were officially released on January the 10th, 2015. And it's how you approach people about getting tested. It's about how you handle the results at the end, who you can and cannot talk to. And I always say, make sure you've got consent in writing. Yeah, this one just goes through everything about sharing results, health information, scholarship, privacy, access by third parties, terms of service, DNA storage, raw data, testing with consent, company offerings, and unexpected results. So if you get this book, read that chapter on the ethical, on the DNA standards that they have in there on how to handle the results and all of that. It is really good to know. And if you are managing somebody's results, make sure that they get a copy of that in writing and that you have them sign that it is okay for you to manage the testing in accordance with these standards that are there. If you want to legalize it, go talk to a lawyer. But those standards pretty much spell everything out for you. Preserving your family legacy, why it's important to document and share your findings with other family members. Don't be like, oh, I found this secret and I'm not telling anybody. No. Oh, I found this, I discovered that. Da, da, da. Oh, I don't want to tell anybody. I'm just going to keep it all to myself. Share it. Share your findings, and here's why. Because people may have gotten different results to you. And they're going, oh, well, when I was researching that, I discovered da 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 da. And so then you bring out all your information and the list of sources. They bring out their information list of sources, and then you go and you compare notes, because it could be that one of you may have the wrong person in the tree. Right name, right area, about the right time that they were born, but it could be that one, and don't automatically assume that your one's the right one. It could be the other person has the right one. So be open and share your findings with other family members. Plus, then you're not the only. So if anything happens to you, they can pick things up as well. You can find creative ways to present the family history in books, video documentaries, online family trees. There's a slew of different ways you can do it, like make a scrapbook of it. So many different ways. And encourage younger generations to take an interest in genealogy as well. I mean, when you find out something cool that maybe their grandfather did or their great-grandfather did, like my dad used to be a fireman. And so I remember when my parents were over here in 2019, and we were over at my oldest stepson's place, and my oldest grandson was sitting there and he's playing on the floor, and I said to him, I says, do you want to know a secret? He goes, what? And I says, my dad used to be a fireman and a policeman. And he's like, his eyes just went, really? I go, yeah. So he goes up to my dad and he goes, were you a fireman and a policeman? And my dad goes, yep. And he just stands there in awe. You never know how kids are going to react. And, he was 4 at the time, 4, 5, 4. Hang on. 4. He was 4 at the time. So he was in awe of my dad, who had been both a fireman and a policeman. Yep. So get younger generations interested in genealogy, especially if the children these younger generations have something in common with their ancestor that they have an interest in. So they might have an interest in, in woodworking. They may have had a grandparent who was a very good woodworker. Do you think they might want to know a little bit more about that grandparent, or a great-grandparent who had an interest in wood turning? Like in my family, on my dad's side, my dad and his youngest brother, well, actually all 3 boys, are very much into doing things with wood. My dad used to turn. He's got rid of his lathe now, but he used to do some beautiful wood turning on his lathe. He's very good with his hands and making stuff out of timber and things. His youngest brother was the same with that. The middle brother was, he's more of an architect and used to flip houses and things. So again, very good with his hands in that sort of area. And so I've always thought, if any of the kids, and then my grandmother, their mother, was very good with woodwork as well. And I think my great-grandfather, her father. But, this is stuff that's been passed down through generations. And it's just kind of cool. So if you have somebody in the family who one of the younger generations who's interested in something that a grandfather, a grandparent, a great-grandparent, a great-great-grandparent had also had an interest in, there's your there's your way in to talking to the younger generation about that person. And then that will lead to who else was like that. And there may be siblings on either, maybe siblings on that grandparent side. There may be other siblings who also have interest in that as well. So keep them interested in different ways. And then and be willing to share your stories through your discoveries, Genealogy Roadbox. Put them in the comments, private message us if you're having issues or need help with a roadblock. And that's it from us for today. So if you want to continue looking for more, you're always welcome to visit us at yourfamilytreedetective.com for help with your research. And we'll have more topics coming up for you guys. But with that, we're done for the day. We are done and we are out of here. So go out, have a super fantastic. Oh, and don't forget Networking Riches coming up on February 19th and 20th. Just scan the code. And if you scan that code and register with that code, with the QR code, then you get to come as my guest for free. So with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific.